Good afternoon. It's Hey Hey Sports. It is Saturday. Got to read that. 9:20, 4:30 p.m. Doing the show in between the Notre Dame halftime, but because of weather at South Bend, with about a minute and 30 left in the first half, they paused it, and there's usually a 45-minute delay at least because of the aluminum bleachers and stuff, so they get the people out, and then they're going to play that last 90 seconds, and then a 20-minute halftime. So we thought we'd sneak a show in right now because then later tonight U of I plays Indiana, and Illinois is getting 7 points on that. Might be a investment day to fire on the University of Illinois and Coach Belima. Today's episode, we are going to wrap up or give you Week 3 predictions of tomorrow's game against the Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys, and then we are going to kind of give a little bit of insight on the Cubs officially now are in the playoffs since our last broadcast. They are officially in as a wild card team. Who they're going to play and where they're going to play is still to be determined. Okay, Cardinal fans, Cardinals are not in the playoffs. I'm going to say that with joy and glee. Cardinals are not in the playoffs. Yet you only finished 5 games out. And I think up until last week, they were only 3.5 games out because the Mets are gagging for that last spot since the Mets are in there right now. But the Mets, I saw this afternoon, they are losing to Washington 3-0. So if the Cubs were to lose another one to the Reds can gain a game and would be 1 game out. And they said last night in the Cubs-Reds game that if the Reds happen to tie with the Mets, the Reds have the tiebreaker, so the Reds would get in, and this big salary that the New York Mets have had will go for nothing at this point in time.
If the Mets don't make it, that would open up the doors to a show I really want to do.
Okay, well, we'll worry about that when the time comes, but the Cubs have currently a good thing the Padres have been losing because the Cubs haven't been real good the last 3 or 4 days. Cubs have a 5-game lead with 3, 6, 8 games to play to get the higher seed in the wild card and hopefully host a game at Wrigley Field. That's what we're hoping for because if right now there are tickets available for that playoff game, but I'm not going to buy them until I know for sure that the Cubs are in the playoffs at Wrigley Field in a wild card. So there's a couple of things I want to mention with that. Cubs have not. Imanaga last night did not look good. The other night, the Reds pitcher Green hit him. I think last night they struck out 11 times. I think the night before they struck out 10 times. So that's 21 times in the last 2 days. Now the one that they got beat 1-0 could could be a hiccup because the night before that's when they celebrated. But then when they put the lineup out there, they put everybody in there. So those guys must not have been hungover or hurting or whatever the case might be. This Tucker situation, okay, for those that don't know, he's not even with the ball club. He decided that he was going to go get a second opinion for his own physical therapist down in Orlando. He's in Orlando. He's not even with the club. Okay? So he doesn't believe in the medical staff of the Chicago Cubs. Okay? They're fighting for, they were fighting for a playoff spot up until that point. And they just let this guy go and he'll come back when they return to Wrigley Field.
I don't agree with that. I mean, I understand. I mean, he can get his own second opinion. I get that. But
well,
that's not a good look, and that's not a good omen either.
They brought a Cub representative down with him to, I guess, verify the whole thing rather than him. I just want to go home for 3 or 4 days. And this injury is, I can hit, I can stand, I can catch, I can throw, but when I run, it hurts. That's what the diagnosis has been.
So when he catches the ball in his hand, because I know there's the stat that you don't care about, but exit velocity, that thing's flying at over 100 miles an hour, and he catches it, that doesn't hurt him?
It appears that all he can do at this point is be a DH. And when he gets to first, it's tough for him to run. It's tough for him to run, because then the calf flares up. And you want $500 million next year.
So he could run in the outfield.
No. Any kind of running can flare this thing up. And because he's hitting off the tee, and he's hitting in the cage, and he's hitting live.
Well,
but
you were the first one to be, how should I say this? Not necessarily cautious. That's not the correct word there, but aware. That's a more better assessment there, because there were people automatically willing to say, "Oh, hey, $500 million. Oh, hey, $600 million." Say, hey, this is a guy who's going to get $600 million immediately.
Are they going? I know they got to keep a spot for him in the playoffs. I know that. It's a 28-man roster, I think. Yes, you're going to keep Tucker. Okay? But, right now they said Owen Casey still has concussion. That's the concussion symptoms. That's why he's not up and around with them. Ballesteros is getting all kinds of playing time as the designated hitter, because they think he's going to be the missing piece when they get to the playoffs. When the Cubs make the playoffs, they're in to make the playoffs, when they get their first games, in our next segment, I am going to give the viewers what I think should be the starting lineup and the batting order, and that's the way it should be for the potential maximum 3 games that they would play, and they're probably going to play the Padres. Okay, whether it's at Wrigley or in San Diego, it doesn't matter. But I will give you what I think the lineup should be, and you just leave it alone. Okay? Because, once again, and I check this every day, again, Pete Crow Armstrong, since July 28th, is batting .236. Okay? All right. No, I take that back. Since July 1st, .236. Since July 28th, he's batting .199. He's going in there 0 for 4, 0 for 5, 1 for 3. And you know what? If he couldn't catch the ball in center field as much as he probably would be sitting a lot. Okay, you can't roll into the playoffs and have a cleanup hitter, and he's batting cleanup. Well, last night they played him 8th. He's shrinking in the batting order. Okay, and the Cubs, I'm just so happy that they're in. Okay, but now you got to go. Then you got to line up the pitching staff. Okay, in a 3-game series, you got 3 starters. All right, Imanaga has not been good the last week. Boyd's got the most innings, but they keep saying he's pitched more innings now than he's ever pitched in his life.
And he's been rocked the last couple times they put him on the mound.
Horton's their best pitcher. Okay, then do you got Tyon tonight? Assad's going to pitch tonight. Are they just trying to get the Reds in? I don't know. And they still got to win 5 out of the next 8 to host a wild card game.
How far are they away from 90 wins?
They need 2.
Okay.
So to get this magical 90, they got to win 2 out of 8.
They've always struggled against the Reds. Doesn't matter. Whatever Cub team it is, they always struggle against
and their next series is against the Mets, and the Mets have to win.
Wouldn't that be special? Wouldn't that be something if the Cubs eliminated the Mets out of contention?
Or now you kind of think, hey, a conspiracy theory. Cubs are in. Cubs get that 4th spot. Now, do you want You want to keep Cincinnati out,
You want
or do you want the Mets in? Can you tank games? You could theoretically sit there and go, tanking of a baseball game could exist.
Well, in some shape or form, yeah.
You know, let's say in the next 2 games in the Cincinnati deal, they wrap it up and they know they're going to be a home team in the playoffs. Now you sit there and go, we're playing the Mets. And they only lead the Reds by maybe 1 game. Now you sit there and go, who do we want in this? Who's the weakest of the 2?
I'd rather play the Mets. Rather play the Mets.
So you would keep the Mets in than the Reds.
If I had a choice, yeah.
So then you're saying let the Mets win. Let the Mets beat us. Because then that keeps, no matter what the Reds do, the Mets still keep pace with them. And right now,
Well, what if...
so there could be some shenanigans going on. What? You're watching the game, you're going, why is so-and-so pitching? Well, maybe they don't want the Reds in. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, would you rather have the Reds?
But see, I'm concerned with the wild card, because with the wild card round, they got to win 2 games. They have to win 2 games.
Right. Well, they're going to play the Padres.
Well, can they beat the Padres in 2 games in a playoff round? This Padres team.
2 out of 3.
2 out of the 3. Because to be honest with you, I think if...
Last night, Dylan Cease pitched against the White Sox, and the White Sox beat Dylan Cease.
Well, there you go.
Okay. The White Sox last night beat Dylan Cease.
Because I think this Cubs team, if they make it out of round 1, I think they can do a lot of damage.
Because the White Sox right now are helping the Cubs get that home field advantage. Because if the Padres would have won last night, then there would only be a 4-game lead.
Who do the Brewers play? Who would they play in the playoffs?
The Brewers are the number 1, so they would play the winner of that. They would play the winner of the Cubs-Padres series, I think.
Oh, God. Do you think...
And then the Phillies are going to play the winner of the Dodgers and Mets and or Reds and or Diamondbacks.
That would be a special playoff round with Craig Counsell coming back to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
If that were to happen.
I think that's what happened.
If that were to happen.
Okay. And I missed the love fest in L.A. last night when Kershaw walked off the field and blah 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 in Los Angeles. I did not.
Well, he's retiring. He's retiring.
I didn't tune that in.
Yeah, he's retiring. It's over. Okay. It's over.
So as we speak right now, and the Cubs play tonight, but I have no idea what channel they're on. I don't know if they're on the Marquee Network or whatever, but the Illinois game, Illinois against that Signetti character.
They're also on Peacock. Illinois versus Indiana is also on Peacock.
Okay, I don't know if that's on the Big Net 10 Net. I think that's on ABC, but the Cub game, I don't know if it's on Marquee or not. But that's where we're at with the Cubs.
What about
Okay. Now tomorrow. I like, before we go anywhere, I like the over in the game at the moment as we speak. Dallas is -1 against, meaning they're giving a point to the Bears, but I like the over at 50. The injury report,
it's not looking good.
They got, I think, 4 defensive backs that are hurt, that are not playing.
What team?
The Bears.
Gotta be specific here.
And then T.J. Edwards is not playing, and then
their defense is abysmal.
And then they're limited. Swift is limited. So the 7th round guy, Mahongany or whatever, the guy from Rutgers, he might get the bulk of the action.
Why not Roshan Johnson?
Roshan Johnson, because Ben Johnson at the press conference the other day said they asked him, so apparently Roshan, and this was his quote, they asked the question, does Roshan Johnson have any duties within this organization? And Ben Johnson said, yes, special teams. 2 words came out of his mouth, special teams. He didn't say he's the third running back. He said he has a role, it's special teams. Meaning, to me, when you say that, they got no plans
For him.
on him running the ball tomorrow against Dallas.
Well, so you don't have a running back. Your offensive line still's not looking good. And your defense is horrible. And Caleb Williams is only throwing to one guy. That's your big problems right there.
And
it's not really the offense.
And
The defense is the biggest problem on the team.
And before I got here, before we aired on the show, I double checked. Okay? Because, I get criticized, for comments that I make, but the comments that I make, I fact check beforehand. I just don't blurp out stuff. And I heard the other day that an announcer said, well, Ben Johnson, what was the word you acquired? What was the word you used last week? Acquired. Inherited players. Well, Ben Johnson was hired on January 21st, 2025. January he was hired. After that date, he had the opportunity to get his hand in the selection of Colton Loveland, Joanne Jackson, the lineman, who's the guy? Tooney, the lineman, the center. Okay, he had his hand in the mix in all of them. So he did not just acquire. Those guys were picked after him. So when this announcer said, well, Ben Johnson just inherited these guys. No, Ben Johnson has had his hand in the mix with all the personnel since January 21st.
It's funny you reference this because I almost forgot about this. And I wrote this down. I read this the other week. Chicago as in the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears have the 8th and the 18th highest paid edge rushers throughout all the NFL. They have spent 3 second-round picks on defensive tackle in the last 3 years, and they also paid for Grady Jarrett. However, the defensive line is still not very good.
Grady Jarrett is on that injured reserve list this week. Montez Sweat has had...
They paid big money for him.
Big money and a second rounder.
Yeah.
They gave up a second round pick. Now, I still haven't done the research on who Washington picked in that second round. Okay.
We got to look that up for the next episode.
To find out who Washington got and who they selected in the second round.
The Chicago Bears are 3-17 versus the entire NFC North during Ryan Pohl's tenure as general manager.
Okay, we've gone. Okay, yes, and we've mentioned that countless times. We'll probably keep mentioning it. But as far as what's going to actually take place tomorrow, I think Dak Prescott is going to.
Bears have no defense. CeeDee Lamb, I know Skip Bayless is not too pleased with him, but CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott.
I would not be
light up the entire defense.
I would not be surprised if he throws for 400 yards.
He might throw 5 touchdowns.
Okay. Now
he might throw 5 touchdowns. The defense is not.
Ben Johnson with the term this week as well. You know what? Playoff teams don't practice the way we. He made a reference about how they're practicing all during the week. Well,
that doesn't mean anything if you don't win the game.
But they're saying they're not practicing hard. Well, and who? So then and then he brings in Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams said, "Well, he wants me to produce the juice." Forget forget the juice and energy. Make plays. Okay? Ben Johnson, if people are not practicing hard in practice, you pull their ass out, you're 0-2. You pull their ass out and you bring them out. Your boy, the guy from Orland Park.
Oh, Dan Feeney. Dan
Feeney just got picked up by somebody this week. I meant to tell you that.
Oh, really?
Dan Feeney is on a roster.
What team?
If you had your...
It's got to be the Dolphins.
No, somebody decent. Just got picked up. So now you're sitting there going...
Another lineman gone.
Linemen that the Bears have had that have been cut are being picked up.
Do I dare make a shout out to one particular offensive lineman?
Yeah, Nick Broker. No, don't hide it. Okay, now we didn't look to see since there. Nick Broker could have been picked up. We didn't see it. Okay, but I'm not. You're a personal friend with Nick Broker.
I am.
Okay, but
known him a very long time.
Okay, and for those that don't know Nick Broker, he played in the SEC. He played at the University of Mississippi for Lane Kiffin. Okay, and they had 4 years. Lane Kiffin's record, but they couldn't always beat Alabama, or they came one game short, or whatever. While he was there, he was like 11. The team was 11-2, 10-1. They went to big time bowl games. He was freshman All-American. His senior year didn't give up a sack. Okay?
I think he's played more games than anybody in Ole Miss football history.
Lineman or all, I don't know.
Or
but
he's certainly up there.
He's certainly up there. Okay? He played in the SEC, and I'm not a big SEC guy, but that's considered big time Division I. All right? He's got all of these accolades. Okay? And
he grew up a Bears fan.
Grew up in
Illinois.
And the Bears, now they're talking about, Braxton Jones was just starting by default, and he may not play. They're going to give him a short leash tomorrow, and then they're going to bring in Theo Huxtable, for all I know.
Oh, yeah.
Theo, whatever the hell his name is.
I know who.
Okay? From somewhere. So you're telling me a guy who's got an SEC pedigree that has been in 3 or 4 different NFL camps. Okay?
Prominent ones.
Because he was with Buffalo. He was with
Houston for 2 years.
Houston. He had a cup of coffee with Pittsburgh.
Dallas.
And then Dallas had him. And you're telling me that you cannot find a way to keep him now around. And you're going to war with Darnell Wright.
And 30-something-year-old men that got cast offs from other programs.
Okay. And I don't understand this. Okay. To put him, you had a Dan Feeney who's 35 years old from Orland Park that they picked up basically off the couch.
For the same reason. It was like the same shipping format they got, what's the guy from the Rams?
The guy that got it now?
Yeah.
Jonah Jackson?
Yeah.
Jonah Jackson?
Because he played less time than Devin Jenkins.
Okay. But Nick Broker's 23 years old, 24 years old.
In the prime. He's in his prime.
Okay. Now the red flag can be, well, maybe the SEC ain't that good. God forbid I'm mentioning that right now. Okay? But just for kicks, right now, Auburn is getting beat by Oklahoma. And these SEC knuckleheads who are going to tell me, well, Oklahoma's in the SEC. Yeah, they are in the SEC.
They're now.
Okay, but they're not remotely close as the history, of the. You go to the SEC network, Oklahoma's one of the last teams they ever mentioned. They talk about Alabama and Auburn and LSU and Mississippi and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? And Arkansas got beat today by none.
Who's the Green Bay linebacker? Lucas Van Ness? He's from one of the northwest suburbs, I think.
Okay.
Of Chicago. I want to know what draft pick was he?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I got to double check that.
But this SEC, Memphis beat Arkansas, okay? And Notre Dame, and everybody wants to write Notre Dame, and they want to throw dirt on them. Notre Dame's 0-2, that's correct. But they lost the game by 4 to Miami, 3 to Miami, and 1 point to A&M. They lost 2 games by 4 total points. Now they're crushing a Big Ten team, and they play Arkansas next week. So they can go back to 2-2. All right, but going back to Bears, I think it's,
I don't think it's fair because I don't think they're even giving Kramer a fair shot.
Kramer.
Doug Kramer.
Okay.
He's the grandson of the Packers player.
Is he even with the Bears organization still?
I think he is.
Okay. The Bears, we will be talking in 30 hours how the Bears are 0-3.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. Because I know that, we can't really go much into hypotheticals. But yeah, the Bears got bye week in week 5.
Yep.
And then after that, they play Washington. They play Commanders.
Yep.
Commanders beat them last year, humiliating way. Last year, the Commanders steamrolled their way all the way to the conference game. Granted, they lost, but they got there. Still a quality team. So that's going to be a big game no matter what. And I know everyone's looking at the quarterback position, and I'm going to get into that in a second. However, defense is atrocious. The offensive line is questionable. You have a question mark at running back. You don't have a running back. And I would even say, and I know it's only been 2 games, going to go on 3 games, but, coaching is suspect as well. And this is the other thing. Caleb Williams has had 3 he hasn't even played 20 regular season games yet. Caleb Williams has already had, in less than 20 season games, already had 3 head coaches and 4 offensive coordinators. So, for everyone only looking at the quarterback position, that's not the sole end-all, be-all, de facto reason why they lose or win games. However, I feel it does need to be referenced because you think Tyson can play. I think Tyson can play. He's looked good, in camp, in preseason, in the couple of games that he did play. Granted, he didn't play a lot, and he broke all these records in Division II. If they go 0-4 or 0-5, is there any possibility that Tyson Bagent will be the starting quarterback?
There shouldn't be a possibility. It should be mandatory. What do you got to lose? Because you know what? Again, and the people who watch this, and I'm going to just swear right now, the bullshit about if the most important position in all of sports is the quarterback, and you're 0-5, things got to change. And I'm sorry, okay? And if we keep Caleb Williams in there and not give a guy that you paid,
they paid him a lot of money.
You're paying him to stick around. You paid money to Tyson Bagent to stick around for 2 years. So somewhere along the line, somebody sees the having him around is important. Okay? So, and as we said before, why is Roma Doomsday only the guy being targeted? If that's the case, 2 things are. The rest of the jokers are not getting open, or Caleb Williams is looking at one guy. And we here don't know because we're not on the sidelines.
We're not in Lake Forest.
Okay?
We're not there.
But
if he is only looking to one guy, and you're the starting quarterback, you're the first guy with the ball, that's a benchable offense. Only throwing to him. And it's not because, it's like, you're not seeing the field well or not. No. You're only throwing him the ball.
Because if you're rolling in that 0-3, 1-4 before the break, and then you're 1-5, what harm would it be to put Tyson Bagent in there in week 6?
So at that point, looks like your season's already over at that point in time.
But now you can't do that. to numero uno.
Well, they benched
Then
him at the end of the game last week.
Then the psyche goes. Then it's what do they want me to do? Then it's Justin Fields all over again. Okay.
Well, they benched him last week.
Yeah.
End of the game.
Who?
Williams.
Well, the game was over. They benched him because they want to keep him up on his feet. They didn't bench him. They benched him out of survival.
I know, and it's like, you've been critical, I've been critical, but overall, the offense, I don't think is the problem. Yeah, the offense has some situations that need to be fixed, but with defense, you can't stay healthy. So altogether, how many guys were on the injured reserves list already?
This week, I think there's 8.
Okay, that's an entire team, basically. There's 11 men who play on defense.
Okay, but why don't you just come right out and say it? Because, and you're going to... Then don't yell.
I won't.
Okay?
I don't know what you're going to say.
Oh, you will. The minute I say...
Well, then say it.
The Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Coached the exact...
No.
Wait a minute.
I know where you're going with
He coached the exact same defense that the Bears have right now. And the Bears defense ended up in the top 10 in the NFL in defense. Okay. And they couldn't wait to pack his bags and rush his ass out of Chicago because he was a doofus. And they're finding out that if this team is painfully defensively inept...
How do you recover from... I'm sorry, did you have more to that? I didn't mean to cut you off.
And they got to be thinking, okay, maybe. Because if the defense is the problem... Okay.
I mean, if you give up 50 points, yeah. If you lose 50 points, yeah.
Did the Bears give up 50 points last year to anybody?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
This was, I think, the first time they'd given up 50 points in 10 years.
I don't think they gave up 40 last year in a game. Maybe one to somebody.
They had one in Kansas City, but I don't know what year that was.
Okay. Everything else was like in the 20s. For as bad... and then Eberflus is going to play, and he knows every offensive tendency. Okay. And you know what? This is what's going to make Ben Johnson more of a genius, because if Ben Johnson's got the big playbook and Eberflus has never seen it.
If they go and they play... Okay, because Dallas is coming up here to Chicago, week 3. If Bears beat Dallas, Bears beat the Cowboys... That would be a huge win.
It's 1-2, and then they're still kind of in the playoff mix. Because somebody said yesterday, if...
They have to go 2-2.
Let's just say Minnesota gets beat, because they're having a backup quarterback. Minnesota gets beat.
Yep.
The Lions are playing somebody difficult. Okay?
Okay.
And the Bears win. Then you got 3 teams at 1-2.
Okay. That's...
And Green Bay's 3-0.
Serviceable.
So now you're in the mix. Okay? So everybody goes, yay, okay, we're right back in it, all right?
But their defense, Jalen Johnson, out for the year.
But that's not going to happen, okay? No. And again, what's with the, and then the nonsense? You know what, we can't wait for next year, you know what? Because the Bears got a last place schedule.
They, should they already had one this year? Should they have already had one this season?
Well, this season is the last place year.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Shouldn't the last 2 years technically been that?
Then why ain't they beating the shit out of these teams?
Because they suck. Because, you know what, Ben Johnson, Ben Johnson, and no one is man enough to say it, Ben Johnson is option number 3 on this list. I know you don't want me to bring it up, but you know where I'm going with this. Can't hire Hardball, can't bring him in. So now you bring in Eberflus, who is now the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, who you just referenced. He knows all the X's and those. And now you got Ben Johnson, who already, week number 2, you give up 50 points. Didn't Trustman give up 50 points? And everything went sour immediately? How I don't know how you can give up 50-plus points in game number 2 and lose, and honestly think to yourself that everything's going to bounce right back when on paper they actually do have talent. And if you've said it a lot, and I looked it up. So DJ Moore was worth a number 1 pick. Roma Dunze was a number 9 pick, and then Lovelace was Loveland. I'm sorry, Colson Loveland, the tight end, was a number 10 pick. You got three
first-round picks and the quarterback. Four first-round picks. Four within the top 10. Teams would just give their left nut to have that ability.
And you're not winning. I don't want to hear about this draft pick crap no more. Yay, we got the number 1 pick. Okay.
And the Harbaugh thing, in order to have gotten Harbaugh, and yes, it could have been done.
Should have been done.
Well, in order for that to happen, then Eberflus should not have been his last year, because Harbaugh was hired that year, and they rehired Eberflus, or they kept Eberflus around. Okay, they didn't rehire him. That was part of his contract. All right. So if the Bears were going to hire Harbaugh, Eberflus should have been fired before the first game of his last year. But they went with the contract, and then Harbaugh was hired by San Diego. So you're going back a couple of years. If it was last year, then you had the possibility of Pete Carroll, and you had the possibility of. But once again,
Vrabel and all of them. But Vrabel was going to the Patriots. Okay. Everybody knew it. Okay.
But the foregone conclusion was, we're going because Ben Johnson had offers to go places.
Okay, but it's been proven because, just because you're in the room with certain teams, that doesn't automatically make you the end-all be-all guy. Right? It's like, okay, so, you love the Beatles. The Beatles are your favorite band. What, in your opinion, I have a point to this. What, in your opinion, what's the best Beatles song ever?
I Want to Hold Your Hand probably is the greatest song of all time.
Okay, if I build a time machine, I put you in the same room with the Beatles, and, they play I Want to Hold Your Hand, and then, you and your friends go start a band and say, it's like, hey, I want you to be in this band and we're going to play the song because you just happen to be in the same room of the Beatles. That's how the Bears hired their last couple coaches. It's, Matt Nagy, you're in the room with Andy Reid. Oh, you're in the area with the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, you're hired. Oh, Ben Johnson, you were in the vicinity of a good Detroit Lions team. Okay, yeah, you're hired. It's, no. And you're now at a point now where you can't be hiring these rookie first-time head coaches who are just glorified coordinators, who are just these egotistical, lame-brain nonsense guys. And you knew you were going to draft Caleb Williams, but you don't hire Cliff Kingsbury. Why? Make that make sense to me. Why?
They're at the point now. And I know this is game 2. If they were to lose this next one, game 3, here's my suggestion to Chicago Bears. You tank everything, and you get the first or second pick in the draft, and you go on and get the best offensive lineman that you could possibly get. Or you get your pick, and then you package DJ Moore, and you package Stevenson, and you package Jalen Johnson,
and you're stuck with Stevenson now in your defense.
You package those 3 to somebody for their number 1 pick, and you get another offensive lineman in the draft. Okay, and then you go from there.
Why was Ozzie Trapilo not playing in the game? The last couple games. Why was he not playing?
Well, they're saying that Braxton Jones has got the NFL ability, because it would be like what Caleb Williams had last year. And I'm not, and I'm not too sure that Caleb Williams isn't talking behind saying, I think Braxton Jones is better. And I don't want to get knocked on my ass 68 times. So I want him. Okay. Okay. You think, and I don't know, I'm not sure. I believe you believe that Caleb Williams doesn't have a whole, Caleb Williams is just doing what he's supposed to be doing. I think Caleb Williams is sitting behind closed doors telling Ben Johnson, I
don't see that being done, because if all these articles and reports are coming out on how no one likes Caleb Williams, and
for this very reason,
related with the Bears and stuff, then because it's not Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, I don't like either one of them, but at least they had credentials to get to that point. They had a real resume to grandstand and say, okay, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want done. Tom Brady, when he went to the Tampa Bay, same way. Hey, this is what I want. This is what needs to be done. Hey, same way. But
when Jalen Daniels got drafted by Washington and Caleb Williams got drafted by the Bears,
yep,
Washington was more of a freaking train wreck
than the Bears were, yes.
Than the Bears were. And they had all kinds of other off-the-field nonsense and whatever.
And ownership problems.
And they brought in the quarterback, plug and play, with a defensive coordinator. Okay, Quinn is a defensive guy, and they were an eyelash away from getting to the Super Bowl last year.
He would have been, I think, the first rookie to ever play in it.
Okay.
I could be wrong there. I mean, at the quarterback position.
Okay. The Houston Texans 2 years ago were in worse shape than what the Bears were last year.
Yep.
They brought in one quarterback and a coach. Okay? And that year, now they struggled last year, and they're not off to a great start now, but they were a playoff team that year.
And you know what? Here's the other thing.
But let me finish.
Okay.
But Caleb Williams was rated better than those two quarterbacks that I just mentioned.
And he supposedly was the only quarterback the Chicago Bears scouted and looked at and what have you.
Yes.
Supposedly. I don't know how true that is. But there's no arguments going against it so far. So...
And the agency is going to, he's just going to mind his time, okay, and sit back, because as I told you before the season, it's going to be, the quarterback is going to be the sixth reason and the reason why the Bears are bad. There's going to be 5 other reasons. The organization, the general manager.
So far, defenses 1 through 8.
The defensive coach, the offensive coach.
Defenses 1 through 8 right now.
Blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to get to the quarterback. Then, once again,
why are you screaming?
People that I'm looking at, okay, and people, a lot of people who watch this are football people. I'm telling you right now, the position of quarterback is grossly overrated. Okay? And if the Bears lose the next game, we're going to come through with that diary of quarterbacks that have won and or participated in Super Bowls. And we'll get you those. And you young people who are watching this, you don't even know who those people are. You think it's always Brady? No, they made up a lot of them. There's garbage out there that have won Super Bowls. There's garbage that has been out there who went to Super Bowls. And there's great quarterbacks who never went to a Super Bowl.
Dan Marino never won one.
Yeah. No. And again, there's 17 games now being played.
Yep.
So these magic numbers of 4,000 mean nothing.
No.
231 yards passing. That's garbage.
The single game pass records are held by Norm Van Brocklin and Sid Luckman. They played in 12 game schedules. 12 guys who played in 12 game schedules. Their records yet to be broken 50, 60 years after the fact.
We're going to kind of wrap this up here. But the Bears tomorrow,
they're playing a Dallas Cowboy defense with no Micah Parsons. Let's see what... Okay, and you know what? The Bears are now stuck with Tyreek Stevenson now as their corner because they have all these injuries on defense. You got all these injuries on defense. Now you're stuck with a guy that going in is not very good because you have no depth at that position at all whatsoever.
Name me the guys that are behind him. You can't.
You can't.
So you're stuck with Tyreek Stevenson at corner.
And they're going to pick on him the entire game.
CeeDee Lamb, if I'm CeeDee Lamb right now and I'm sitting in a hotel room in Chicago and I'm going, God, you know what? They got to guard me. Tyreek Stevenson's got to guard me. And here's the thing. Okay, Tyreek Stevenson does a great job. Then who's going to guard Pickens? Who's going to guard their tight end? They're going to bring 3 guys out.
And all they do is throw. Dallas Cowboys, all they ever do is throw. Emmitt Smith is not the running
The
back.
over is a lock tomorrow. I think it's 50.
Emmitt Smith is not in a Cowboys uniform anymore. All they're going to do is throw.
And you will see a lot of gadget plays tomorrow. You're gonna see stuff because if you just keep things the way they are, Eberflus is going to know every tendency.
The Bears need to win the next 2 games to save their season. But here's the other thing, and I don't know if it was referenced here on the show, but when you go out...
We didn't mention Aurelio's sauce.
Well, you just did now.
Okay.
Well, and again, that's not a paid sponsorship. No. Not a paid sponsorship. We just like their food. But, you know, okay, Lovie Smith was a defensive guy. I think he was a special teams coach on from the St. Louis Rams. That's where the Bears got him, for those who did not know. But anyway, the Bears go out and get all these big-time, smart-time people, these big, offensive-minded people. And I don't think it's a surprise when you see all these, offense guys who, I'm going to say it, pardon my language, who, just shit the bed as head coaches. Like McDaniels and, McDaniels and Gase, Adam Gase, Mark Trestman. And
if you had McDaniels just as the offensive coordinator, if that was the only change you made,
yeah,
he's the offensive coordinator this year with all these weapons, and you kept Flus. And Flus is the head coach that nobody liked, but he's a defensive coordinator. But you brought a guy like McDaniels in, who's a great offensive coordinator. Are the Bears in better shape than they're in right now?
I would say so, yeah. Why would you hire Eric Bieniemy and not make him the head coach? I would rather have Eric Bieniemy be the head coach. Over than Ben Johnson. Because you know what? I know he's only been here for 2 games, but it's easy not to like Ben Johnson. First words out of his mouth at the press conference. Hey guys, you see the Thunderbolts movie? Hey guys.
But if he said that and they were 2-0, you wouldn't be ragging on him.
True, because winning cures everything. True.
Okay.
We like the Super Bowl shuffle because they won the Super Bowl that year.
Okay. But those that are going to watch this, if you want to comment whether or not the Bears are, I think the Bears are going 0-3. And as I said, if they go 0-3, I'm already telling you right now, they're going 0-4 against Vegas. And then it's the bye, and then the sky is going to fall. Then a million things are going to happen.
I don't know how you can lose 50, give up the 50 points in the second week. How did defense crap the bed in the fourth quarter? And the way that they did in the first game.
These are professionals. People don't give up 50 points.
Supposedly. You know what? But this is the Bears. This is what they do. See, when you talk about the monsters in the Midway, and you're not monsters, and you're fake thugs, you're fake fraudulent tough guys. That's what you are. Let's say it as it is. The Bears are fake fraudulent people. That's what they are. They can't get a stadium deal done. They can't get a coaching hire done properly. They don't know how to draft at all.
Jack Sanborn tomorrow is going...
I forgot he's a Dallas Cowboy.
Is going to be butkus.
That's going to be his revenge game.
Him and the Flus are going to be smoking the Ditka cigars. And here's the other thing. There's no post-game. There's no post-game TV show like they used to have. And if you marquee people are in charge of that, that's gutless bullshit. Okay? All right? And, you know, you got to turn into the score on the radio.
I miss the days when Doug Buffone and Ed O'Bradovich did their post-game show.
But
I miss those guys.
But this is disastrous. You know, I hope I'm wrong again. Okay? I hope I'm wrong again. But I'm taking the over tomorrow. My bet tomorrow will be the over between the game. Each collectively 50 points. I'm not going to bet the spread. I don't think the Bears are going to win tomorrow because the defensive backfield is abysmal.
You know what? The more and more I look at the team, I think they're only going to win 2 games. As more time goes on, they suck. They suck.
I said the high watermark was 7. They ain't getting that. And then I said maybe 5. And 5 is even than last year, and they're supposed to be much better.
No, they look far
But
worse.
you know what? In 17 weeks, it's going to be, well, you know, Caleb, this is Caleb's rookie year. This is growing pains. Okay, we got everything's on the table, and then the guys that they paid $100 million. 2 of those guys ain't going to be around next year.
I'll even go a step further. I can't believe I'm going to go here. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but in retrospect, and I know everything's so easier in retrospect, they never should have fired Matt Nagy. Because, you know what, the only thing that Nagy was fired for was really because of the whole play calling and the fact that you didn't know who the real offensive coordinator was and the way how they handled the quarterback, situation. But those teams were good. Nagy has a winning record. They fired him. Now it's been a bigger garbage clown show. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I was the biggest critic over Matt Nagy.
So, watch the Bear game tomorrow. Tune in. We need some traffic. Subscribe. Freebies. Cubs play tonight. Got to check the Mets game. And the Bears play tomorrow. And it's a national game. They're the 3:30 game. They're the only one at 3:30. So all of America is going to see the clown show.
Wait. Okay. You know, and it's like, okay, great. Yay, now we hire the offense. See, but the other thing. I got to indict Bears fans in on this as well. Because, forever and ever and ever, they never wanted anyone defensive-minded to ever say anything related with the team. They never wanted anything related with the team, and no defensive people, no special teams people to be the head coach or whatever. Okay, but now, when Ryan Poles got in there and he traded away Mack and he traded away Roquan Smith and he gutted the entire defense and whatnot, and he replaced them with these people. You threw away all the guys that you had on that defense. You gutted that entire defense. You gutted everything. Granted, not everyone from 2018 was on the roster by the time Ryan Poles got here. But yet, there were still people who could still play.
He played at Boston College. I want to check. I want to go and see how many games he actually played as a lineman.
And now you're replaced all those people with these guys that this fan base likes or liked. I don't know why, because they've never shown any heart. Jalen Johnson, I know he's hurt, and he had a non-related football injury long before training camp, long before he even played. And then he gets hurt mysteriously that reactivated the injury, and no one's saying anything about it. Jalen Johnson has been a gutless, spineless person ever since he's got here, but no one has ever had the guts to say it.
You just said it.
Well, I just did.
All right. Hey, Sports. Look us up. Tonight, U of I against that Cignetti character. I'm not a big Illinois football fan, but this Cignetti's a buffoon at Indiana, and I hope Brett Bielema just beats the piss out of him. I think I'm going with the over in that game as well. So, until we will air tomorrow after the Bear game to keep things posted. Till then, hey, hey, sports.